So automations are the coolest thing in Home Assistant, because with automations you can virtually connect every device that you have in your house to any other device in your house and let them act upon each other's actions, which is really nice and really cool. You know, if this then that, I mean, you know, connecting one device to another device. Well, automations in Home Assistant is like if this then that on steroids. I'm going to show you how automations work, what you can do with it, and I'm going to show you some examples on how I implemented it in my own house to inspire you. So let's dive into it. Automations can be found in configuration, and then you scroll down and then you see automations here. So if we click here, you already see a lot of automations that I created in my Home Assistant instance. So but actually this is my live production environment, and because I'm from the Netherlands, some of the words will be in Dutch, but I think you will get it what I mean. So if you want to create an automation, you can click on the plus on the right lower corner, and then you have two options. You can create an automation from scratch, or you can let Home Assistant determine itself how an automation should work based on what you want. For instance, here are some examples. You can also type in the text, and you can say turn on the lights if motion is detected, and then I say create automation, and then Home Assistant automatically knows what to do. So it's asking you, what motion sensor do you want me to use to detect motion? So I'm going to check my motion sensors, and for instance I have one in the kitchen. So I'm saying use my kitchen motion detector to detect motion. And what do you want to do if it detects motion? Well, I want to switch on all the lights in my kitchen. And then I say create automation, and what you see now is that Home Assistant automatically created an automation that will switch on all the lights in my kitchen, which are shown here. Don't worry about it, I'm going to explain everything, so just leave that for now. Based on motion that is detected by my IKEA motion detector. And then if I save this, then it's saved and it will run automatically. How cool is that? It is cool, but you can also be more like an expert and make a professional automation by building it from scratch. So I'm going to show you how you can build it from scratch and what options you have, and then I'm going to show you all the nice automations that I created just for you for inspiration. So we go back here. Yes, I want to leave. And I'm going to create an automation from scratch. So I click on the plus in the right lower corner. And now I'm not going to choose one example. I'm not going to type in any automation that I want. I'm just going to type skip. And now you're basically into the automation editor. Well, in the automation editor is really big. You can do a lot with it. I'm not going to explain everything, because if you start with this, and basically all the tutorials that I make are mostly for people that start with home automation and with Home Assistant. So I will make a more professional and a more advanced course later, but now I'm going to show you the basics. I'm not going to dive into deep things like templates and events, because that will basically blow your mind if you have everything in just one tutorial. So I'm going to show you the basic things. So you can give your automation a name. So I'll say my very cool automation, and I can give it an optional description. This shows more information about my automation. I hardly ever use that thing, but you know, can come in handy. And then you can choose 4 kinds of modes within your automation. Well, let me explain that. You have the single mode, the restart mode, the queued mode, and the parallel mode. So what's the difference between these 4? The single mode is that if a trigger is detected, for instance, let's say we have the motion detector. So if motion is detected, then it will run this automation 1 time. Restart means that if a trigger is detected, so if motion is detected in this case, and motion is detected directly after that, then the first automation will stop and it will run again immediately. With queued, it means that if a trigger is detected and an automation is running, and then the trigger is detected again while the old automation was still running, then it will wait until the old one is finished, and then it will start the automation again. So it will build up a queue and start it one after the other. And parallel, well, I think you guessed it already, is that if an automation is triggered and it's running, and then it's triggered again while the old one is running, then it will start the same automation in parallel, so at the same time. So then you can, you know, let things run at the same time. So most of the time, I think you will choose single. So we choose single for this one. Now we go over to triggers. So what you always have with automations is that you have a trigger that triggers your automation. So for instance, there's motion at your front door, or it's starting to rain, or you know, things like that. There is a trigger. And next to the trigger, you also have conditions. So for instance, if you say there's motion detected at your front door, which might be a trigger, and then you can say with a condition, but I only want to do something if it's night or between 9 and 10 in the morning. So that's a condition. And after the condition, then there's the action. So basically what the automation needs to do. So for instance, turn on the light, or turn on the alarm, whatever. There are a lot of things that you can do here. So that's the basic thing. So you always have a trigger, you have a condition or more conditions, and you have one or more actions. You can also have more triggers, by the way. So you can also say if motion is detected in the hallway or motion is detected in the kitchen, then do this and this. So there are different trigger types, and there are a lot. So if I open this, you see device, event state, geolocation, home assistant, MQTT, numeric state, blah, blah, blah. A lot of things. I'm not going to explain all these triggers. I'm just going to explain some of them, because some of these triggers are, you know, more advanced, more professional, and you can always look them up in the Home Assistant documentation, which is online. But I will show the other ones in a later tutorial, which are, you know, the more advanced ones. So for instance, you can choose trigger type device. So if you choose trigger type device, let's choose that, and I'm going to say okay. I'm going to click on device. Then I see all the devices that I have in my house. For instance, the kitchen. Where is it? The kitchen motion sensor. Here it is. So now I've chosen my kitchen motion sensor here. And then then there is a trigger on that, and I can choose between different triggers for this device. So in this case, the motion sensor from IKEA has 3 triggers that are defined within Home Assistant. One is motion sensor battery level changes. You can use this, for instance, that if the battery level of your motion sensor goes below, let's say 10%, then send a message to my phone to tell me I have to change the batteries in the motion sensor. Other one is motion sensor started detecting motion. So if motion is detected, then do something, blah, 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 turn on the lights. Or if motion sensor stop detecting motion, then turn off the lights. Well, there are a lot of different options here, but for now I'm going to say let's start detecting motion. So if the transfer motion sensor started detecting motion, then I can do one other thing, and that is I can add a duration here. So I can say, for instance, I want my motion detector to detect motion for 10 seconds. So if there is motion for 10 seconds, then start to do something. I'll put this back to 0. Ooh, that's a lot of zeros. So put it back to 0. And the other thing, for instance, the battery level, I can say if the battery level is below 10%, this is the percentage here, then send me a message. So there are different things to do here. So that's how device works. So you can choose any device that you have, and any device has something else. I have, for instance, a smoke sensor. So smoke sensor is the same thing. Smoke sensor battery level. If the smoke sensor started detecting smoke, so smoke sensor stopped detecting smoke, do something. Ring an alarm. So that's what device do. Event is a bit more advanced, and I'm going to skip that for this tutorial. Now we're going to state. So state is if the state of a sensor changes, then do something. For instance, let me see. So, okay. For instance, I'm going to use this one, which is one of my door sensors, which sees if the door is open or closed. So I'm going I want to check if the door has been opened and do something based on that. If it goes from closed to open, do something. For instance, if I'm not at home and if my door is opened by someone, then ring an alarm, send a message to my phone that there is a burglar, for instance. So that's what state does, and you can choose a lot of different entities here, and every entity has its own things to work with. So then you have Home Assistant. So for instance, you can say if Home Assistant starts, then do something, or if Home Assistant shuts down, then do something. I'm going to skip MQTT. Numeric state, also another sort of state. For instance, let's say my climate in the living room. If the temperature in my living room gets above 20 degrees, then start my air conditioning. For instance, that's what you can do, for instance, with numeric states. There are different things to do with it, but this is one of the examples. Sun. I can also see if it's sunrise or if it's sunset, then do something at sunrise or do something at sunset. And you can also say, but I want to have an offset. For instance, let's say I want to start my garden sprinkler 10 minutes before sunrise. So then I say minus 00 and then 10 minutes and 0 seconds. So 0 hours, 10 minutes, 0 seconds. So basically what I'm saying here is start something. For instance, turn off the lights or start my garden sprinkler, as I already said, 10 minutes before sunrise, or maybe 10 minutes after sunset or at sunset. So that's what sun is doing. You also have tag. I'm going to explain that in another tutorial, in the tutorial about tags, tags are quite new to Home Assistant, and it is nice, but that is a different topic. I can make a separate video of it. Template, I'm also going to skip template because template is also more advanced, more professional to use. Time is something that you will probably use because you can say at a certain time start something. For instance, I always want to start in the morning at let's say at 8:30. I always want to switch my smart switch that is connected to all my office equipment at 8:30 because then that is when I'm going to start to work. That's one of the things that you can do with time. So you can have a fixed time, or you can have a value of a datetime helper. So you can say add time, and this is something that is more advanced. Then you need to know what helpers are. I'm going to skip the helper part for here, but I will show you in a different video. So for now, it's just fixed time. Let's say at 8:30, I want to start something. Okay, so that's time. Time pattern is also something that's sort of the same. For instance, you can say, let's start every 6 hours. I want to start my, I don't know, what can you start every 6 hours? Your air conditioning, anything basically. Or you can say, I want to start my ceiling fan every 6 hours, or every 10 minutes, or every 5 seconds. I want to do something. So that's what time pattern does. Then webhook is also more advanced. I'm going to skip it for now. And you have zone. So you can say if a certain entity is within a zone, for instance, if my phone is within the zone home, then if I enter the zone home, then do something. So for instance, if I enter the zone home with my phone, so if I enter my house with my phone, turn on all the lights, or turn off the alarm, or if I leave my house, turn off the alarm, and turn off the lights, and also turn down all the heating. So that's where you can use this for. Okay, so we make it a bit easier. We go back to device, and then we go to the motion sensor of my kitchen, and I'm going to say if my motion detector starts motion, then do something. Now we go to conditions. With conditions, you can add an extra condition to your automation or to your trigger. For instance, in this case, I can turn on the lights in my kitchen. If my motion sensor detects motion, then I can switch on the lights. But I don't want to do it during the day. I only want to do it at night or at a certain time. So I can say, well, I can add a condition here, and I can say, for instance, if I use sun, I can say, do it only after sunset. So only after sunset you can, and do it before sunrise and after sunset, then you can turn on the lights when motion is detected in the kitchen. So that's what you can do, for instance, with conditions. There are a lot of other things. You can also do and or and not and state, and basically these are the same things as that you can see here in the triggers. So I can also choose for device here, so I can say, well, if motion is detected in the kitchen, and for instance, well, what shall we say? Well, let's say, and my doorbell, it has been, someone pushed on the doorbell, then turn on the lights. It's a totally useless example, but it's just to show you that you can do multiple things. So yeah, I'm not going to need any condition here, so let's, oops, nice. So I'm not going to fill in anything. And now the actions part. So now we are getting to the action. So what we had with the trigger again was, if there's motion detected in the kitchen, then turn on the lights in the kitchen. So I'm going to choose a device, device, and I'm going to say all down here, kitchen spot 1. I'm going to say turn on kitchen spot 1. I can also give it a brightness because they are all dimmable. And then I'm going to, well, what now happens is that only one spot is going to be turned on. So I'm going to add another action, device, and we go to kitchen spot 2, and we're going to set turn on kitchen spot 2, and so on, and so on, and so on. And then if I save this, then all my lights in my kitchen turn on as soon as there's motion detected. Oh, that's easy. Now, this is just a simple example. I'm going to show you some examples of things that I created already and I use in my home every day. So you get a bit of an idea of what you can do with all these automation stuff. So I've shown you how automations work in Home Assistant, and now I'm going to show you some examples of automations that I use every day in my system, just to show you how powerful they are. Well, let's start with, let's say this one, turn on the fan if humidity is above a certain threshold. In my bathroom I have a humidity sensor, and that detects the humidity of the bathroom, and if it comes above 75%, then I want to turn on my ceiling fan. So my ceiling fan is triggered by a smart switch, and which I built in. So let's open this. So what I created is a trigger of numeric state to sensor bathroom humidity. If it's above 75, then trigger the bathroom fan and turn it on. So this one is pretty easy, pretty straightforward, and I created the same one for turning off. So if the bathroom humidity is below 75%, but for 5 minutes, so it has to be below 75% for 5 minutes, then turn off the bathroom fan. Also pretty straightforward. Okay, let's get another one. This is, well, maybe this one is nice. Oh, this one. Turn the lights in my hall on when motion is detected. So I have this Ring doorbell in my at my front door, and I have in the hallway behind the front door I have a light, and the front door has windows in it. So and the windows, you cannot see through it, but you know there are windows. Not sure what the English name for it is. If you know it, let me know. I can learn something here. So if motion is detected on my Ring doorbell, then I want that the lights in the hall switch on. So if someone is at my door at night, then the lights should go on, and that's also handy against burglars. So let's see how this works. So if there's motion detected by my doorbell at the front door, and it is at night, so it is before sunrise and after sunset, then turn on my light in the hall downstairs at a percentage of 100%. Wait 1 minute and then turn it off again. So this is already a little bit more advanced, right? Okay, now we go to the next one. Let's choose another one. Yeah, this one is really nice. This is one of the things that I'm not sure if you can relate to it, but I always had the thing that, you know, you want to print something in your printer, and then you start printing, and then your printer says, sorry, I'm out of ink, and you really need to print it today. And then there is stress because you have to go to the shop and you have to get a new ink cartridge, and you don't know what ink cartridge it is. So I had this all the time. So I thought, I have to create an automation for it. And then I discovered that it was possible that I can see the levels of ink in my printer with Home Assistant. So this is what I created for that. Where is it? Printer ink is low. So what this thing does is it's I think it's brilliant. That's okay. I have a printer. It's a Canon MX510. It's an old printer, but you know it works, and you can use your own printer for it. And I have triggers on that printer. I noticed that Home Assistant has these triggers by default, that you can see the value of the black cartridge and the value of the color cartridge. So basically what I'm saying here is, if the value of the black cartridge is below 20, or the value of the color cartridge is below 20, and now it's going to be a bit tricky, then send me a message to my phone. And this one is, you know, a bit more advanced, but just to show you how it can work. So it's sending me a message, and then I have to fill in some data about what is in the message. So I'm entering a URL here, and then the message is that it shows me the cartridge levels. So percentage of my my black cartridge, the percentage of my color cartridge, and it sends me a text, click to order here, with the title, your printer is running out of ink. So basically I'm getting a message now on my phone telling me my printer is running out of ink, and if I click on that message, it will lead me to the online shop where I can order my ink cartridge for my printer just before it runs out of ink. That's really cool. I don't have any stress anymore that my inked cartridges are running low on ink. And yeah, you know, these are the powerful things that you can do with Home Assistant and automations. It's really more advanced. Okay, yeah. So, well, I want to show you one more thing. I also have another one, which is really cool. That is, you know, if someone rings on the door, then my TV, it will be set to pause. Because why should you want to put your TV on pause manually when somebody rings at the door? I mean, every time when somebody rings at the door, you have to get your remote, put your TV on pause, and walk through the door. So you can automate that. You know, all these kinds of ideas that you have. Another thing that I have here is that I have a sprinkler in my garden, and it will water my garden based on the amount of rain that has been fallen, the amount of rain that is expected to fall, and the temperature that it has been during the last 3 days. And based on those variables, it will water my garden for a certain amount of time. You know, all these things that you can do is so advanced. So if you are used to using if this then that for example, and you find that this is really simple, then really look into Home Assistant, look into automations. You can virtually build everything that you want. But there is one warning that I have to give. That is, I hope that your partner has a really good hobby, because if you dive into automations, you will get remarks about that you are constantly working on automations and make your house more intelligent and more intelligent. So yeah, you know, the sky is the limit with this. So I hoped this video helped you and inspired you. If so, share the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and let me know in the comments what kind of automations you created, or what kind of automations you would like to create, or maybe you want to have some more advice on things in Home Assistant. Let me know. I will read everything. I will respond as soon as possible. Yeah, well, that's it. I hope you have a great day, and thank you for watching. Bye bye.